Hello everyone, welcome to another video about companion build. In the last video I showcased speed farming, pros and cons of the companion build, and how it's supposed to be composed of. So, the next thing we are going now is, as the video title already has hinted you, is interactions with a special artifact that you can have or get from the Hall of Trophies. I will just go there to show it to you. Hall of Trophies, there it is, Overload module. So, what is so great about Overload module that every companion build user wants it so badly that his pants get wet? First of all, increased damage is always nice. More companion damage is just perfect. But the big crux comes with the long text here. It basically means as long as you're above 40% health, you have 3 fears, hovering around you, attacking everything in 25 meters away from you every few seconds, and spending 1.5% of your health for it. Sounds terrible, but actually it's great because those spheres, when they attack the enemy, use your companion damage and normal companion attack, and furthermore they use one time, every time the 3 spheres go on, it's the middle sphere by the way, uses a companion ability that you choose on the symbol. So for our instance, we're choosing the Berserker module because most damage. That means again that this stuff will use this attack every time the second sphere is shooting at an enemy, which greatly increases our overall damage output because it allows us to increase our overall damage. As said in the other videos before, the problem with companion damage cooldown builds is that it first of all doesn't really react to some of the buff stuff like main damage, etc., which is mainly used, and that is more damage dealing when it can be used in a rapid succession. So the interactions that we are now having with it is, if you're using a symbol that deals damage, this symbol will just proc way more often and will help us way more often. But as this thing does this for the companion thing, I will now showcase for the Berserker mode. Normally it would just proc if I do the companion charge, which is now 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, 4 time, 5 time, and now 6 time. Going backwards. So we are out of reach. I did 6 times I attack, and now we got 4 more attacks out from the Berserker mode, just because he now had the equipment on that gives him extra attacks like the artifact. So this means it's a great increase on your overall damage. So yay us if we have that. But there's furthermore about this overload module that makes it great for certain uses. An example would be if you are not using a damaging symbol, but you're using defense mode, for example. Defense mode, we remember that, is if you are getting shielded by this thing and applied to you, which is so all times the case, and if you are if you're in a group, it applies to an ally, most wounded. You take 50% less damage, which is a massive amount of damage reduction. So watch this. And the defense is on. 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 Like basically for the whole fight in this with this module, you will have this defensive ability. So let's just jump back to this. Where could this come in handy? For us as a companion build user, it does not come that much in handy. Like you can see now from this approach which is longer time fight even, you can see that there's nearly no extra damage from our companion. Like this part, which is 42% of our damage, is just missing. It's just not there. The companion module still deals the basic damage, which is still an increasement, and it's influenced by our companion damage, but it's not the major chunk of our damage. Like compared to the previous thing, it was just 16%, and now it is 30. But what it did is give us a permanent shielding. You can, for example, use this on the knight, although it's not that much of a advised thing, but you can go with knight with a typical tank build, for example, even. Go this one. You have now the, let me take this one. You have now this activation thing. You can use your V, which gives you already a damage reduction of 25%. Checking this out. V gives you 25, and if you are using willpower, we double this, so it's 25. Now we're using this one, and we are constantly getting our companion to use the defense mode for us, while we have the ability to constantly slap on things. Which then means we have 50% damage reduction and 50% damage reduction again. Since it's not the same damage reduction, this basically means we don't get 100% damage reduction, we get 75%, which then gets further decreased by our general defense, which leaves us with a damage reduction of about 85% or something. So with this module, you could use it on a tank, for example, to shield yourself from damage. The problem is that in a team effort where maybe someone else is more wounded than you yourself, you will probably apply this to your teammates instead of you. So not the ideal setup, but you can, for example, use this setup, which I already did to some degree, using Groovewalker in a solo mode, where you say, okay, I just want my normal damage loadout, I want my normal stuff going, but I want to survive more stuff. Getting to the defense stuff here. Exactly, buddy. So, as you can see, I already have the companion saving me, giving me less damage. If I now transform into this stuff and just heal against the damage that is a module putting out, I'm constantly being able to hold up my ground against the damage leech that this thing does, which is a major bound part, and I can tank in solo stuff way more than I could if I would just go for a normal damage loadout. So this can increase your performance, for example, in nightmare runs, since it allows you to simply increase your defense by 50% permanently without even considering taking damage gear. This is a great addition, and can help you to get further interactions. Further in nightmares without screwing over your damage build. So this means you have the ability to even use it without a companion build. But of course it has a big use for our companion build. And normally we won't use it because it's not the most damaging part, but it is one of the possibilities that you have to give yourself a better survivability with this thing. As said, this defense stuff only works for your experience if you're a solo, because once again this symbol reads as companion will like a shield to the most wounded ally. If you are the most wounded ally, you will be applied to it. In a normal scenario where your team is decently bursting on something and you're connecting heal orbs or even using Groovewalker, you won't be the most hurting one. The most being hurt one will probably be the Necromancer next door that just brings down his own HP to 10% health before healing up. Or even dies and heals up then. So, in a group, this usage is limited. But it's still, of course, a possibility to give your team a few more survivability options if you can take the heat from the many damage stuff. So, now that we have talked about this interaction, there's another one that is also possible for you in solo play to do. And what would that be? Yeah, that would be that you can not just use a defense module, but you can use a support module. Which means you get to buff a friendly target nearby, and that means you can boost your teammates' damage if you're in a group, and if you're alone, you get the boost instead. Which then can be a huge difference in your damage output, because you will permanently dealing 20% more damage. I will now, with a standard build, which means I don't have any good damage going, just show you the differences between it. We're going for a normal damage artifact, just a few slappings to show what it does. I triggered it now on myself for this instance. So this is just normal without proccing it again. Like the problem is it's just a maybe thing. So I'm slapping it enough, I guess. It's 25 seconds. This was 25 seconds of slapping this thing without anything special, and with one time triggering the support module. If I now go over the artifact and just do the very same thing again, I will instantly get this thing going, and since it always reactivates it, I will be maintaining the 20% damage boost for the whole duration of the fight, no matter if it normally would be just a chance. That again means that you can increase your damage output tremendously compared to what before if you're solo. Oh, we're 25? Yeah, we are 25 already. Back, go back, go back, go back. So, even if we did a bit overboard here, no, 35. So, you can see that my damage output for the very time was nearly the same time frame. Here was a 12 users, here was 13 users. I just got higher damage overall on everything, which then again means you can abuse it to increase your damage with this module. I'm not saying it's the most ideal use, but it's a possible interactions with this module. I showed you how it can affect companion build. It showed you how it can affect normal builds. So thank you for listening and for watching the video. See you around in the next video where we talk about specific uses and interactions between the companion attacks, companion build specifically, to other stuff.